All right, everybody, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into distal CH bond functionalization. I know, it's a mouthful. But trust me, this is exciting stuff, especially for all you learners who, like me, love getting to those aha moments as efficiently as possible. So we'll be diving into excerpts from a scientific review article hot off the presses. Toolbox for distal CH bond functionalizations in organic molecules. And to help us break it all down, I've got our chemistry guru with us today. We're ready to jump in?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so this article, it's all about how scientists are finding new ways to create molecules, and it could change everything from medicine to materials. But there's this one sentence in the abstract, and I gotta be honest, it kind of threw me for a loop. They say, transition metal catalyzed CH activation has developed a contemporary approach to the omnipresent area of retrosynthetic disconnection. Did that make sense to you right off the bat?
Well, they definitely packed a lot into that sentence. Basically, they're saying chemists have a new way to build molecules using catalysts.
Okay, so we're talking about changing those bonds between carbon and hydrogen atoms, the ones that are like everywhere in organic molecules.
You got it. They're essential, but notoriously tricky to work with. Imagine trying to grab just one specific grain of sand on a beach. They're everywhere, but isolating one is a real challenge.
So it's like trying to thread a needle, but the needle's a mile away.
That's a great way to put it, and that's what makes this research so groundbreaking.
So, using the analogy from our source material, are we saying that chemists are trying to grab just one specific grain of sand, but it's really far away from the rest?
Exactly. And if we can control those CH bonds reliably, it's like discovering a whole new language for building molecules, which could have a huge impact on, well, pretty much everything.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Real-world impact. So, give me an example. How could this actually change things in, say, medicine?
Take drug development. This new approach could help create those drug molecules with way more precision, making the process faster, leading to more targeted treatments.
Less hit or miss, more hit the target. I like it. Now, the article actually uses a pretty funny analogy to describe how tough this kind of chemistry is. They compare it to catching fleas. Have you had any flea-chasing moments in your own work?
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
More than I care to admit sometimes. But that's the thing about chemistry, right? Every challenge you overcome opens up a ton of new possibilities.
and this deep dive we're doing, it's about one of the biggest challenges in chemistry, right? Getting a handle on these CH bonds that seem so simple but are surprisingly hard to work with.
Absolutely.
And this article, it seems particularly interested in something called distal CH bonds. What makes them different, and why are they the toughest ones to wrangle?
You see, it all comes down to reach. Imagine trying to thread a needle, right? Now, threading a needle close to your hand, that's easy peasy. That's like working with a proximal CH bond.
Okay. Close by, easy. Gotcha.
But then imagine trying to thread a needle all the way out at arm's length. That's your distal bond. Way trickier.
Ah, I see. So much harder to control at that distance.
Exactly. It requires a whole different level of precision.
Okay, so how do chemists actually practically reach those distant bonds in a molecule?
Well, that's where these super cool molecular tools called directing groups come in.
Directing groups, okay.
Think of them like GPS navigators, but for metal catalysts.
GPS for molecules. Love it.
Right. In this scenario, you've got the metal catalyst, which is kind of like our master molecular tailor, and the directing group. It's making sure that Taylor can stitch those molecular buttons, what we call functional groups, exactly where we need them.
So without the directing group, our molecular tailors is just sewing buttons on randomly.
Pretty much. The directing group makes sure the catalyst goes right where we want it on the molecule with total accuracy.
Precision tailoring. I like it.
And you know how you wouldn't use a hammer to do a screwdriver's job? Chemists are the same way. They've got a whole arsenal of directing groups, each with its own strengths and weaknesses, just like tools in a toolbox.
It's like they've got the ultimate molecular toolkit. I noticed the article mentions a whole bunch nitriles, pyridines, oxamine ethers. It's like a buffet of molecular tools.
There's one in particular that I think you'll find really neat. Have you heard of a sulfonyl tether?
A sulfonyl tether. Rings a bell, vaguely. Refresh my memory.
So it's used in a reaction called metahydroxylation. That's intimidating, I know. It's really quite elegant.
Elegant chemistry. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so first, we need to talk about hydroxyl groups. Think of them like those key attachments, those molecular hooks that can actually latch onto other molecules.
Got it. The molecular equivalent of a carabiner.
Exactly. Now, the position of this hook on a molecule It's super important. Whether it's ortho, meta, or para, it completely changes how that molecule behaves.
So it's like the difference between attaching that carabiner at the top, side, or bottom of something totally changes how you can use it.
Perfect analogy. Now, usually when you add a hydroxyl group to a certain type of molecule, let's call them aromatic rings. This usually happens at either the ortho or para positions. Like those hooks really want to go on either the top or bottom, but never the side.
And this is where our friend sulfonyl tether comes in to save the day.
You got it. This is where it gets really clever. You see, this sulfonyl tether is designed in a way that forces that hydroxyl group to attach at that meta position, that side spot, which usually is a total no-go zone.
Wow. So they found a way to force those molecular hooks onto the side. That's amazing.
It's a game changer, really. This kind of control is a big deal because it opens up a ton of possibilities for building those more complex molecules, like the drugs and materials we were talking about earlier.
It's like they're rewriting the rule book on how to build molecules. This is seriously impressive stuff. But directing groups, those aren't the only tools in the chemist's arsenal, are they? There are even more tricks up their sleeves, right? What about these traceless directing groups the article mentions? What are those all about?
Ah, yes. Traceless directing groups. They're a pretty elegant concept. Imagine you've got this heavy object you need to move, and you got this temporary handle to help you lift it. But once you put it down, poof, the handle disappears. That's basically what a traceless directing group does.
Okay, now that's just cool. It's like chemistry with disappearing ink. How does that even work in a real reaction, though?
One common example is using carboxylic acids. They can act as directing groups, guiding the catalyst to that target CH bond. And then, just like a magician's disappearing act, under the right conditions, they just detach themselves and vanish, leaving no trace behind.
So it's like a scaffold that disappears once the building is finished. No messy cleanup afterward.
Exactly. And then there's this other clever technique, the Catalani reaction, which uses this molecule called norborne. It's like building a temporary bridge to get something across a river. Norborne acts like that bridge, helping the catalyst reach that distant bond.
So it helps the reaction happen in that hard-to-reach spot and then politely bows out.
You've got it, leaving our desired product behind, good as new.
Wow, it's incredible how chemists keep coming up with these clever workarounds. But all this talk about the future, what does it hold for C-H functionalization? Are there still big challenges, or is it smooth sailing from here?
Oh, there are always challenges. One of the big ones is moving away from using those pricey metals like palladium for catalysts. Not only are they expensive, but they're not always the most sustainable option. So a lot of research is focused on finding those more abundant, eco-friendly catalysts.
So making this game-changing chemistry more accessible and sustainable for everyone.
Exactly. And of course, we're always looking to push the boundaries of what's possible with CH functionalization, finding new directing groups, making reactions even more efficient, and applying it to even more complex molecules. It feels like the possibilities are truly endless.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a real revolution in how we build the world around us, from life-saving medicines to completely new materials with properties we can't even imagine. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. As we wrap up our deep dive into CH functionalization, what are the key takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with?
Honestly, I hope they come away with a sense of awe at just how creative and ingenious chemists can be. We're constantly pushing the limits of what's possible at the molecular level. Oh, and I hope they come away realizing that something as seemingly simple as a carbon-hydrogen bond, it can have a huge impact on so many aspects of our lives.
It's been fantastic exploring the bleeding edge of chemistry with you. And for our listeners, I want to leave you with this thought. What if, through CH functionalization, we could create materials with properties we haven't even dreamt of yet? Materials lighter and stronger than anything we know, or with entirely new electronic properties. Keep asking those what-if questions, because who knows what incredible discoveries await. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds hungry for knowledge.